Hello everyone. So in this today's video session, so we are going to discuss about the next concept of your second chapter in module first. So that is for loops and the range function. So first we discussed about for loop and then we discussed about the range function. So for loop is also a looping statement. So before going to discuss about the syntax and how that for loop will work, so first we have to see the difference between while loop and as well as the for loop. So why we are going to use for loop? We already have while loop. Instead of using while loop, why we are going go through for loop? So while and for both are looping statements. You already know, and then you already studied this for loop and while loop in your previous programming languages C, C++, and Java. So while loop is mainly used to execute the statements repeatedly n number of times. While loop execute the statements n number of times. But if you want to restrict the number of execution of your looping statements, so for that we are using for loop. So while loop is continuous execution until its conditions will become true, it's keep on executing. But for loop is not like that. So you can fix the number of iteration. You can fix the where exactly that iteration will start, the starting point and then ending point. You can restrict the number of executions in for loop. So that's why we prefer for loop. Both are looping statements, but in while until the condition will true, it will keep on executing the statements repeatedly. But for not like that. In for you can fix the number of iteration. That's why we use for loop. So next we see the syntax and working of for loop. So now, so here you see, so what I told, the same thing here they mentioned, the while loops keeps looping while its condition is true, which is the reason for its name while. So but what if you want to execute the block of code only certain number of times? So if you want to execute the block of code only certain a fixed number of times, so you can prefer for loop statements and the range function. So you can use both for loop and the range. So this range is a inbuilt function, okay, to execute the number of or fixed number of iteration what you want, that we discussed in next slides. Okay, so first we look at the for loop. So first we see the syntax of for loop. So in code, a for statement looks something like for I in range 5 and always includes the following. So here you see, so next we see the code in next slide. So in for loop, mainly it contains for keyword, just like while. So for while loop creation, what you did, so first you mentioned while keyword followed by white space and then you write a condition. So here also for, okay, for keyword you have to create, you have to mention, and then next you have to mention the variable name. In while we are not mention the variable name, that variable and declaration we made it in a block of code if you want, but here you have to declare a variable name. Why that a variable? In the sense for initialization of looping, so that entry point of the looping. For keyword variable name you have to declare, and then in keyword in is a keyword, so in is a keyword, a call of the range method. So next you have to mention the call of the range. Next you have to call range method with up to 3 integer passed to it. Means next after that you have to call range method. So range is method or function. Okay, it can accept inbuilt function. It can accept 3 arguments. So that 3 arguments, what how they're working, that next we see. Okay, and then next followed by a colon. So in your for loop, first for keyword, next you declare one variable. Here you see, so for I in range is there, no, this one is the declaration of for loop. Okay, for I is a variable, in is a keyword, in where I, where you have to initialize, where that I will start, and then range means how much elements you have to print, how much number of elements you have to print, that you have to represent within a range. So for keyword I variable, in keyword range, so it can accept arguments up to 3. So you can mention only 1, 2 or 3. Okay, so if you just mention 1, what happens? 2, if you pass 2 argument, what happens? And then if you pass 3 argument, what happens? That we see in next slides. Okay, so and then colon, after that you can write a code, indent block of code. Indent means you have to provide a one tab space. Okay, so this one is the syntax. Here you see one example. So print my name is. So first the user is asking to print, want to print my name is. Okay, here for I in range 5, for I in range 5 means for I you have to initialize the value. Okay, for I first, before this, before you call this variable here, you have to initialize the value. So if you initialize to 0, it start with 0 1. If you initialize to 1 1, so 0 1 2 3 like that, it will start printing. So this one is starting, and then where it end, it have to loop the statements, means this statement it will print up to 5 times. Okay, if you mention 5 years, single argument as the value, single argument if you pass, so it will print 5 times, repeated number of times. Okay, so the code, and then after this block of code will get executed. So print Jimmy 5 times means this Jimmy, what you declare here. So this variable this loop will print the values from will print the values 5 times. Okay, so the code in for loop, in the for loop class, is run 5 times. This code will run 5 times. The first time it is run, the variable is I is set to 0. So first time it will print the variable I will be set to 0. So next the I value will get incremented to 1. Okay, so after that Python finishes an iteration through all the code inside the loop class, the execution goes back again to the top. Okay, top of the loop, and the for statement increments I by 1. So first I value is 0, set to 0, and then it will get incremented to 1 after executing these statements. Okay, until this condition will become false. So range, within this range, if the value is there, then it will print. So 0 in range 5. 5 means 5 elements, 0 to 5. So this is why range 5 results in 5 iteration through the class, with I being set to 0, and then 1 2 3 and then 4. If it is 5, then it will stop its execution. The variable I will go up to, but will not include the integer passed in the range. So the variable I will go up to the values within the range. Now here value is 5. So below that 0 1 2 3 4. So until that it will become condition true. It will execute the statements. After that it will stop its execution. So next, the figure 2.14 shows the flowchart of 5 times .py program. So here this one is the program actually. So this code, you have to write this code and then execute. So this will print like this. So first one, start flowchart. First it will print the name for I in range 5. Okay, if the condition is true. So for I value is set to 0. So 0 within the range of 5, within 5, yes, it is there within 5. Range means within that. Okay, within 5. So then loop starts and then print Jimmy 5 times string of 5. I, Y, B. Here they are converting that integer value into string. That's why here we use string function. I remember that string function. This string function we discussed in first module, first chapter. Okay, that value it will be printed. After that it will go to the top again, the loop. So I value will get incremented, auto incremented. I will become 1. So 1 within the range of 5, yes. Again it will print 2, 2 within the range, and then 4, 4 within the range, then print, and then again it will go to the loop 5. 5 is not within the range. Okay, why? Because 5 not equal to 5, not within the range of 5 means below that values are within the range. Okay, it will be equal to the particular range value. So it will be, that condition will become false. Then the condition become false, then it will go to the end. So now it will print 5 times. 1 2 3. Here you see the incremented I value. So that I value here we are printing, right? That incremented I value are also printed here. So in this way your for loop will work. So here the same how this loop will get executed. So they took another one example and then explained here. Another for loop example, consider the story about mathematician called Friedrich Gauss. Okay, so this is one mathematical example they took and then explain. So this example derived by a mathematician called Friedrich Gauss. So Gaussian theorem, what you would study, is the person. So he explained. Okay, so when Gauss was a boy, a teacher wanted to give the class some busy work. Okay, the teacher told them to add up all the numbers from 0 to 100. Young Gauss came up with a clever trick to figure out the answer in few seconds. but you can write a Python program with a for loop to do this calculation for you. And so here the problem is, so the teacher gave one assignment, just like assignment to the class. So that assignment is, so you need to add up all the numbers from 0 to 100. So 0 to 100 means, so 0 to 100 total how many numbers are there? 100 numbers are there. You need to add 0 plus 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus like that. You need to add. For that term, the guys will came up with a clever answer within a second, few seconds. So that they represented within a using Python. So first total is equal to 0. First the total initial value is 0. So first num, for num is a variable here. Num in the range of 101. So range within that range. Then right means 100 we need to include, the means you have to add plus 1. Then right, so total is equal to total plus num. So at last print total. First total is what? 0. So here how to represent the for loop? For loop keyword followed by a variable. Here we declare variable as num in range 101. Why? You need to add till 100. So till 100 means that range will start from 0 and end with 100. So that's why we represent 101. If it is become 101, the condition became false. So numbers income starting point 0. So 0 in the range is total 0 plus 0 0. Next that 0 will be incremented to 1. 1 plus 0 1. 1 next incremented to 2 plus 1. Next 2 plus 1 3. 3 plus 2. 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 plus 3. So like that the value get incremented. The result should be 5050. So when the program first starts, the total variable is set to 0. The for loop then executes the total is equal to total plus 10. 100 times it will get executed. Just if you write this simple code, so you get the output instead of adding 0 plus 1 plus 2 plus like that. So if you just write the code like this, then you get a output. So by the time of the loop has finished all its 100 increments, so even integer from 0 to 100 will have been added to the total. At this point total is printed to the screen. Okay, so here at last print value total printed. So even on the slowest computer this program will take less than a second to complete. So in this way your program, Python program, will get executed fastly compared to the other programming languages. Okay, so next the equivalent to the while loop. So if the same program, so here what we written, the same program, if you write it by using while loop, so how it will get executed. So here if you write this one by using while loop, so here in while loop how you write, so you have to write by using condition. So here you see the same program. So first my name is, after that we have to first initialize the value to 0, but there we are not initialize the value to 0 directly. If you call num after variable, that variable by default it will be assigned value to 0 here, I variable name. And then in keyword and then range, by using that you can print. But here instead of that one, while keyword followed by white space and then condition I less than 5, so that colon and then print give me 5 times the string of I. The same program we write it in while loop. Okay, but here you have to write the condition, but not there we are using the range function. Okay, so next one is range function. I already told range function is mainly used in for loop in Python to fix the range, where it will be start, where it will be stop, and then where it will be skip. So if you pass single argument as a value, so it will keep on incrementing from 0 to where stop condition, means that variable in for loop for I in this example, for I in range 5. So here I 0 to 5 values only it will print. 0 to 5 means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, if you pass single argument. If you pass two arguments, see here, if you pass to 2 arguments, so these first arguments fix the starting position, and then second argument it fix the ending position. So 2 arguments if you pass, starting and ending. So your iteration will start from 12 and then it will end at 16. So less than 16. Start from 12 and then it will end at 15. Means 16 within that range, 12 to 16, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. This one is ending. For 12 you have to count, but 16 you won't count. Okay, it will end below that. Okay, so if you print this one, then you have to print 12, 13, 14, 15. So if you pass 2 arguments, so then you have to First argument will be the starting position, and the second value will be the ending position. This one you should mention within the range. Okay. If you pass only single, so then by default it will assign to 0 starting, and then end will be the what argument you are passing. Next, if you pass three arguments, first will be the starting point, second will be the ending point, and then third argument will be the stepping, means it will skip. How many values it will be skipped? So here you see in this example, so the range is, first one is starting 0 to 10, in a sense it will print 0 to 9, and then skip. Second one is stepping, means it will skip. So skip two values means 0, next it will skip to 2, it will not print 1. Why? Because it will skip that one. Stepping, okay, and then 4, 6, 8. After that 10, but 10 not within the range, so it will print like this. So if you pass 3 instead of 2, then it will print 0, 3, 6, 9, 4, 0, 4, 8, 5, 0, 5. Okay, so like that. For if you pass single argument 0 to but particular range, two arguments starting point, ending point, three arguments starting, ending, and stepping of your iteration. So that same thing here they explain. Go through this and try to execute this one in your Python interactive shell spider. Okay. So here in this range, you can also print it in reverse order. Here you see in previous example increment order. Okay, 0 to 4, 6. But if you want to print 0, -2, -4 like that, you can also print. For that, you have to use negative values. So here you see for I in range 5, -1, -1. Here you see the range value start from 5, end with -1, means decrement 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, 0. And then it will skip the values from -1. -1 means so 5, -1, 4, okay, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Instead of -1, if you call -2, 5, 3, 1, and then -1. So not print -1, only 1. Till 5, 4, 5, -3, -1. It will print. Okay. So like this, you can also print the values in ascending order and as well as descending order. Okay. Now next concept is importing modules. So importing modules is just like your how you include header files in your C programming. Okay, it's just like you included header files. So here importing, in the sense we are importing the inbuilt functionalities. So inbuilt packages from your library. So in C we use include. So include stdio.h. So for standard input and output libraries are stored in the form of header files that we are including to our program. Okay, in your Java you imported packages. So by using import keyword, you imported packages in Java. In the same way, in Python also you can import the modules. That import modules, in the sense that inbuilt functionalities you can import. So here you see, so for importing inbuilt functionalities modules, so for that we use import keyword. So by using import keyword and the name of the module, which module you are going to import. So here first you see all Python programs can call the basic set of functions called inbuilt functions, including print, import, and len function. So we already studied used this print, input, and len functions. So these are all the inbuilt functions. So these inbuilt function for working of these inbuilt functions also we need the inbuilt functionalities. So that by default your Python program will import it. But some of the standard libraries like for some of the mathematical functionalities. Okay, so just like in your C program, so how you are using header files. So here also, so we are using import function, just like Java for importing the existing model. So already told this print, import, and len functions are we already used, and then these functions are again these are all inbuilt functions. So these are by default your Python will include it. So if you open your interactive shell, or if you want to type any program, so in the first line import some Python version, it will displaying, right? So that will import the function modules functionalities for this inbuilt function. So this Python also comes with a set of modules called a standard library. Each module in Python program that contains the related group of functions that can be embedded in your programs. So for example, the math module, for example, so some of the mathematical inbuilt functions, like if you want to find out the minimum value, maximum value, round up value, floor values, for all those functions, it will work. For that, you need to include some mathematical inbuilt functions. So for importing that library files, so we are using import modules. So how they are, for including that inbuilt modules present are in that functionalities present in your Python library. For that, we use the syntax. First, you have to mention the import keyword followed by the name of the module. Which module you are going to import from your library? First, you mention import keyword, and then optionally more modules names as long as they are separated by commas. For example, if you want to include only single file or single module, just you mention import keyword followed by module name. And then if you want to include multiple modules, so for that you have to separate that multiple modules by using comma. Okay, so yeah, this one is an example. So actually, and then these import functions, so for best practice, usually we mention at the top of your program, the starting lines of your program, we mention this functions, importing function. Okay, once you import a module, you can use all the cool functions of that module. Okay, let's give the try with the random module, which gives us access the random random. So this function is used to find, or it is used to print only the random integer numbers. If you want to use random int function, so then you need to import the module random. So why? Because the functionalities of this function, how that function will work, so how it will print the values, all those things will be mentioned inside this function random. In this module, inside this module, that functionalities are present. So now we are importing this the random function, then this int function will work. If you're not importing this one, this will not get executed. So this one is the code. So try to type this code in your program and then execute. Okay. So here import random. First here we are importing, only we are importing single module. That's why only one single module. So below that, after this you can use the functionalities that contains use the functions that present inside this module. Okay, so for I in range 5, so print random. Okay, you can print the random numbers. That numbers are within the range of 1 to 10. Only random integer numbers. Okay, so that random dot. So here you see, if you execute this program, that these values are printed. 4 1 8 4 1 random numbers. So it will keep on just like random numbers, where you observe these random numbers in your OTPs. So in your OTP, mainly they use this function random. So it will print the random numbers. There are 6 digits random numbers, 7 digits, 4 digits. So like you can fix the number of digits. Okay, that random int function call evaluates the random integer value between the two integer, so that you passed it. So between the two integer, what to here 1 to 10, between these two integer, what value will print randomly, so that will be print. Since random dot int function is a random module, you must first type a random and then followed by dot in front of the function name, and tell Python to look this function inside the random module. So now if you type like this random.random init, this function will get executed. So when this will executed for this function, the functionalities are loaded from this random module. So if you call this one, so your Python program will go and search the functionalities inside this random module. So next we see the example. So to import the function statements that import 4 different modules. So if you want to import 4 different modules, like here you see random, sys is also a module. Module present inside your Python library, and then OS, and then math. Now here we are importing 4 different modules. So if you are importing 4 different modules, no need to type 4 times import function. Okay, import keyword or import statement, no need to call 4 times. In a single statement, you write all the modules and separate this by comma. Okay, So next, from import statements. So if you want to import all the functionalities, all the modules present inside your Python library, so for that simply use star symbol. Okay, so for the, if you want to import all the random functionalities, so which are all the random functionalities modules present inside your Python library, so for that we have to use from keyword. By using from keyword, you can import all the functionalities of that module. So an alternative form of the import statement is composed of the from keyword. Alternative for import is from keyword. So instead of import keyword, you can also use from keyword followed by the module name and the import keyword and the star. So you can use also from, by using also from keyword also you can import the modules. For that the syntax is first use from and then module name and then import and then star. So then this random functional module functionalities, which are the functionalities present inside this random module, all are get imported. So with this form of import statement, cause the function in random will not need the random prefix. So if you are calling like this, next no need of random prefix. So here you see in this example, we need to prefix this random. If you are using this random functions, random module functions, then you need to prefix random. But if you want to remove this one, then you have to use from keyword. By using this from keyword, you can remove. You can avoid the prefixing random. So now you can just call a random init function. So just array nd int. So int function, if you call, it will work instead of adding prefix when we are using form keyword. By using form keyword, if you are importing files, then you can do like this. However, using the full name makes your more readable code, so it is better to use normal form of a import function. But this one is quite complicated, means it will be quite difficult to remember all those things. So instead of that one, better use normal this function. So this one is the very easy and then very rememberable, means you can easily know when you are reading the functions, so what this random init will do. So if you are prefixing random, then you can know, okay, this one is random function, it will print a random integer numbers only. You can easily analyze compared to this one. If you directly mention, you can't, it will be quite difficult to analyze the code. That's why normal import function if you use, then you can easily remember. Okay, so next, last concept of your second chapter is ending a program earlier with system.exit. So in C program, you use exit function. Why you use exit function? Exit function, it is used to exit from your program execution. If you stop the execution in the middle of the program execution, you want to exit from the output screen. If you come out from the output screen, if you want to stop the execution in the middle, okay, for that we use exit input function. So like that in Python also we have a function called system.exit. Sys.exit means here sys is what? Sys is a Python inbuilt module. Okay, Python inbuilt module, system module. So you have to prefix that module. So for that you have to do what? You have to import this is and then system.exit. So the last flow control concept to cover is how to terminate the program. So this always happens if the program execution reaches the bottom of the instruction. So however, if you can cause the program to terminate or exit by calling system.exit function. By calling this one, if you stop the execution. So since this function is the system module, so this function exit function present inside sys module. So you have to import that sys. Okay, so you have to import sys before your program can use it. So open a new file and type this program and then see how it will work. So here you see in this function. So in while loop, while true print, type exit to exit. So response is equal to input. So type exit to exit. Now input you have to accept. So response is equal to exit. Okay. So if you type exit, so then system.exit. If it will stop the execution, comes out of the while loop. Okay. Print you type. Okay. So this exit function, it is used to stop or terminate the program execution. This present inside sys module. That's why we are importing sys, and then we need to prefix this one. Okay. So this completes your second chapter. Okay. So watch the video. If you get any doubt, please message me. Thank you. We meet in next video session.